Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another edition of Drop the Mitts Hockey Podcast. This is episode 53, and today we have an incredible guest here for you guys. Current member of the Green Bay Gamblers of the USHL, North Dakota Sioux commit, and new member of the Boston Bruins organization, Will Zellers. Will, how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. Can't thank you enough for taking time out of your day. Greatly appreciate you doing this for us here.
No, thank you so much for having me on. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, man. Listen, ever since the deal went down, which we'll get into later, I've been just all over Bruins Twitter. It's been Will Zeller highlights, and some of these goals that you've scored this year, man, are absolutely incredible. You've been having a hell of a season, as I mentioned, for Green Bay, leading the league with 39 goals in 43 games. Second in points in the league with 61. Obviously, it's your first full season in the USHL. What would you say the biggest contributing factor to your offensive success this year? What has that been?
I for sure gotta say my teammates. I mean, I'm lucky enough to play with a guy I played with the past 3 years at Czech St. Mary's Aiden Park, who's a great player and has helped me a lot there. I mean, this league, you have to have good players around you to produce. It's not a league where you can kind of go and do it yourself, kind of like growing up when you're playing in like the U15, U16 hockey, where you kind of do it yourself. One guy can kind of do it, but this year he's been a tremendous help to me. And of course, my teammate Gino Carcone too, and even all the D-men too, and everyone. They've been super supportive and kind of always helping me trying to find the puck and put me in places to make plays and score goals.
Yeah, I wanted to talk to you about your relationship with Gino and Aiden as well. I saw going back, you played with Aiden over at Shattuck. What's your relationship like with him? Because you two, I mean, again, the chemistry that you guys have is absolutely incredible. You guys are both ripping up the league this year. Talk to us about your friendship, your relationship with Aiden.
Yeah, so I've known Aiden since I was 15. We've been living together in dormitories since we were 15 when I first got to Shattuck, and he's a great hockey player. I mean, he's unbelievable the way he sees the ice and plays the game, and he's even a better person off the ice. I mean, I love living with him. This year at Green Bay, we got bunk beds together at our billet house. So me and him are still living in the same room together, which is great. And I mean, he's been a big factor in my success. I mean, I could not do a lot of this without him. And same with Gino. I mean, me and Gino played together at a USA tournament, 5 Nations, a couple years back. So me and him kind of grown up playing against each other and playing on a couple tournament teams with each other. So he's been great, and he's a great player, and he's having another breakout season for him too. So, I mean, those two wouldn't be in the position I am without those guys, and I owe a lot of my success to those two, and it's been just a pleasure having them with me.
Yeah, that's unreal, man. And you just mentioned the billet situation. Like, I think a lot of people don't realize that you guys are in these billet situations. Like, kind of just see you guys. Like, what's that situation been like? Is this your first time with a billet family?
Yeah.
How's that been?
It's my first year with a billet family. Usually I've been used to just living on my own in a dormitory, so kind of doing my own things. But now this year, kind of get to live with a house with a new family. But we live with a great family. They live on a little lake over here, and they have a great house and a great setup, and they're great with us. I mean, you can kind of, sometimes they got 3 kids, so it gets a little loud in here a little bit time from time, but on game days, you can kind of hear them yelling at the kids to quiet down for me, Dating, which is always great. And they've been super supportive. And anytime we need anything or need any groceries or gas or anything or food, they're always the first ones to ask. And it's great. And it's a pretty cool experience living on your own with another family, kind of getting used to that junior hockey lifestyle, which isn't the easiest to do.
Yeah, I mean, was it like pretty much a seamless transition for you? Because you mentioned, you were in kind of a dormitory situation. You're in this billet situation. Then next year, you're going to be right back in the dormitory, at North Dakota. Like, has that transition been kind of seamless for you?
Yeah, for me at least it has been. I mean, I've been living away from home since I was 15, so living away again is nothing new. The only new thing is just having people in the house and kind of new family to get used to, but it was pretty easy. They were great with us, letting us transition into their home and kind of treating us like family right away from day one.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Like I said, bringing up kind of the season thus far, as soon as the trade went down, obviously there was, some videos that went, kind of viral, some highlights of you. I have to ask you, man, you scored this one shootout goal, absolutely filthy goal. And all of a sudden you're like, as soon as you score, you're turning around barking at the goalie. What was that about? Was that a friendly, was he kind of chirping at you all game? Like, I got to know.
Yeah, a little bit. In overtime, I had like a little bit of a breakaway, and he kind of robbed me on it. And there was like a whistle, and then he started absolutely just yelling at me. I think he's a European, so I couldn't really understand what he was yelling at me at the start. Then he was just jawing at me when I was going back to the bench. Then when I had to shoot out, kind of knew just one-on-one, no back check, or I had to score. So when I scored, I kind of had to let him know that I got him on that one. It wasn't an easy one to let up for him. So yeah, I was just getting it to him a little bit.
Absolutely disgusting goal. I was like, and then honestly, a lot of the comments were like, obviously with Brad Marchand getting dealt, he's got a little bit of chippiness to him. Like he's not willing to back down, which I thought that was absolutely hilarious. And kind of going back, transitioning a little bit, talking about, your time with Green Bay. Like, what does a normal day in the life look like of Will Zellers? Like, obviously, you're playing high competitive hockey, but, what kind of things are you doing off the ice? Are you going to school? Like, what does a day in your life look like?
So usually, I don't go to school this year. Luckily, I get the year off. My mom was kind of a little bit on me to take some classes, but I ultimately chose not to, and kind of chose the option to just focus on hockey this year. But Green Bay, we work out every Monday and Wednesdays are workout days, and it all depends on how the weekend went. And we have these sensors that we wear for every practice, every game. So our coaches use that to kind of figure out like what our bodies are at and how tired and how not tired we are. So we use that and work out every Monday, Wednesday. And then those days we work out, we usually have practice right after. And then usually after practice, go with a couple of the guys. We'll go get some lunch or something. And then if we're not going back to the billet house, there's some golf simulators right next to our rink. So we'll go rent one of those out with a couple of the guys, go golf a little bit, hit the driving range. Or usually we'll come back here, and depends how the body's feeling. Our billet's lucky enough to have a sauna and a hot tub and a little workout room. So it's pretty nice. So me and Aiden will come back after a long day, make some dinner, then hit the sauna for like 15 to 20 minutes, and then maybe go in the hot tub too. So it's pretty nice to
you're living that good life, man.
Oh, I know. It's great. It's unreal.
How's the golf game looking?
It's not going bad. I mean, I had shoulder surgery in February or April of last year. So when I came back from surgery, I had to fix the golf swing. Can't take the club as far back and swing as hard. So I've had to kind of go with accuracy over power now. So, but it's not looking that bad. I'm like a plus 12, plus 13 handicap. So there you
go. Got to work on that short game.
Yeah, I know. I do. Especially my putting. My putting's not good.
Yeah, same here. We mentioned earlier you played 4 years at Shattuck in your home state of Minnesota, which I think just in general, Shattuck is like the pinnacle of high school hockey, in my opinion. It's one of the most, elite programs in the entire country. Can you talk about your time there? Can you talk about, what Shattuck did for your development? And kind of what they did to help you get to where you're at now, just absolutely dominating, the USHL. They've had absolute studs go through there, yourself, obviously, Macklin Celebrini, Cole Eiserman, like guys who can just put the puck in the net. Like what did that school mean to you?
It meant a lot. I owe a lot of my hockey career to that place. I mean, you can go into that place. I mean, I think personally I went to that place. I was an okay hockey player growing up. Always kind of knew I was a little bit better than everyone, but never one of the top guys. And when I went there, they give you absolutely every resource you could ever want to become a good hockey player. You got ice from 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. on one of the 3 rinks they have on campus. They have like a 10,000 square foot state-of-the-art gym. They got a 5-person training staff on hand at all times during the school day, so you can use them whenever you want. We have skating coaches that come in once a week, skills coaches that come in all the time, and sometimes we'll get lucky in like last year, Zach Precy came down and practiced with us, and we'll have a couple NHLers that are alumni that'll come down every once in a while to practice with us. It's unreal. And I just owe that place a lot. And the best part about it, I think, is you go to that place and you're surrounded by hockey players that everyone wants to get better. Everyone's giving 110% no matter what's going on. I mean, you'll wake up remember my 15s year, I'd wake up at 6 a.m. and go on. We have a 3-on-3 rink that all of us would go on and like play 3-on-3 in the morning before school. And there's guys like Macklin Celebrini out there, Eiserman, all Adam Park, Brody Zemer, Riker Lee. There's just every hockey player out there just wants to be the best. No matter if it's 6 a.m., 3-on-3, every guy's treating it like it's game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals, which is the best part. It really drives that competitive gene and makes you want to become a better hockey player, being surrounded by a bunch of great players.
Yeah, dude, I went down the rabbit hole, obviously, of looking up every roster every single year, and you're just seeing like the names each and every year. It's absolutely insane
It's
that come
nuts.
through there.
It's crazy.
I wanted to ask you about the facilities there. You kind of got into it a little bit. Can you talk about, what they have to offer there? The reason being why I want to ask that is because you're going, a program like Shattuck and then to a program like North Dakota, where we'll get into that in a little bit. Just two state-of-the-art, facilities. Can you talk to us about, Shattuck and what they had to offer?
Yeah, I mean, the dorms are really nice too. I mean, our senior dorm was very nice too off the ice. But then when you get to the rink, we have an old rink called Sumner Rink. It's been there ever since Shattuck started. So it's a really old rink, very historic, which is always cool to play. And then we got one of the new rinks called the JP Precy Rink, which is named after Precy's dad. He was a big part of Shattuck's legacy. And then we also have a 3-on-3 rink too. That's right next to our locker rooms, called the Ward Rink. So that rink is open from 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. And then you'll go out there at random times, seeing guys just getting better out there. And then if the ice is a little beat up and you're nice enough to the Zamboni guy, he'll come out and give you a fresh sheet down if you're lucky enough.
Slip him a 20.
Yeah, slip him a 20 and he'll get out there and give you a fresh sheet if you're lucky enough for yourself. And then we have a massive gym that was built a couple years ago. It's 10,000 square feet. It's got every weight, every machine. We got dumbbells from 5 pounds all the way up to like 200 pounds for no reason. I don't know who's touching the 200-pound dumbbells, but we got everything you can need. We got a full basketball.
Some of the D-men.
Yeah, I know. That's
maybe
200-pound plates. Yeah, it's not me. And then we got a full basketball court, full track outside. We got a dome, a soccer dome that we have, and an outdoor soccer field we have. So then a full state-of-the-art training room with every amenity you could have. We have an underwater treadmill in there. We got a cold tub in there. Got everything. We got 1 million those hyper guns, those Mashaz guns. We got about 1 million of those that you can use anytime. So, I mean, they give you absolutely every resource. I mean, it's pretty much like going to a really nice Division I college, the way they treat their athletes there, and it's unreal.
Yeah, and like obviously you see some of the games that Shattuck plays, and the crowd also just looks like absolutely insane. Like talking about Shattuck, and then you being from Minnesota, like the Minnesota high school hockey tournament is absolute insanity. Being like in Massachusetts, we don't have anything close to that. What, like, thus far in your career so far, what would you say is the craziest barn you've played in? Could be at any level, USHL, your time at Shattuck, whatever it may be.
Yeah, so I'd probably either say I played in the Quebec tournament when I was like 12 to 13 years old, and we played the Boston Junior Eagles our first game at the Videotron. I'm like 12 years old at the time, and it's just sold out, like packed for like 11 o'clock game, which is pretty crazy. We ended up losing, but it's still an unreal experience. Or we played St. Andrews my senior year last year, and what made it the best game is because no other Shattuck teams play. We got like 10 other teams on age groups, boys and girls, and no one else played that day, like at that night. So we had 7 p.m. on a Friday night. Everyone in the school was there. It was a lights out theme. So they cut the lights every time we'd score. They cut the lights for the anthem and all that. So it was sold out, and we ended up winning in overtime. So that was a pretty electric game and a really fun game.
Like, how is that for you? Again, you're playing against like I'm not going to say grown men. They're still college kids, but like for you, obviously you're one of the younger kids. Like what is it like playing against that type of competition? Like almost to get you ready for your time in, college hockey next year.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. I mean, my first couple of games, it was like a little bit surreal. Like, geez, these guys are pretty freaking big, but it helps you out a lot. I mean, I want to be playing like the biggest guys, the fastest guys, the strongest guys, because when you get to college and even up to the pro level, it doesn't get any easier. It gets harder if it does. So It's always good just adjusting your body and, of course, your mind too, the way you think the game. Kind of got to alter it every year depending on what level you're playing at. So it's helped me a lot.
Yeah. We mentioned a little bit ago, obviously you're committed to play at University of North Dakota next season. They've been a really fun team to watch this year. I've gotten to catch a couple of their games. They got a good combination of, older guys and also young guys who were just drafted that are, really can play. Younger guys, Sacha Boisvert, obviously he's he's one of the best freshmen, I think, in the country. And then another guy, EJ Emery, who I really love as a defenseman. what went into your decision as when you're choosing a school? What went into your decision choosing North Dakota? Were there any other schools that were like really in the conversation?
Yeah, so I was between North Dakota, Minnesota, and Wisconsin. Kind of wanted to stay closer to home for my family, just make it easier for them to travel games. But I think what made North Dakota such an easy decision is my parents. My dad played football there, and my mom was a cheerleader there, so they met at North Dakota. My grandparents met there. I got family. I grew up in North Dakota. We have a family farm out over there. I got aunts and uncles in North Dakota. My sister's there right now, so I grew up going to those games since I was probably 2 years old. I have a million pictures of me when I was little going to those games. So it's been a dream of mine to play in the Ralph ever since I was 2 years old. My dad kind of engraved it into me that that's the place I want to play. So when I had the opportunity, it was an easy decision for me. But of course, those other programs are just as good. Minnesota is such a cool school. Growing up in Minnesota, of course, going to those games. And then Wisconsin is such a powerhouse too, and a really cool campus.
Yeah, like you hear stories about the Ralph and whatnot.
Yeah.
And obviously the Chicklets University, I don't know if you've gotten a chance to check that out. Just showing all the facilities,
Yeah.
like what went through your mind when you're touring this place? Like even just the video that they posted, it just looked absolutely insane. It looked like a professional, like just professionally done facilities, everything, state of the art, literally everything.
It was nuts going through there. I mean, they were showing me every time I think it's done, they show me another room with like a waterless bed that makes you feel like you're floating, or bunk. There's a room with a bunch of bunk beds in the back, and then it was nuts. I mean, you walk in there, and of course, everything that they have in there, they'll give you a full breakdown on why it helps you, and you'll be like, I didn't even know I needed that, but they're like, you don't know you need it. But then once you try it out, you'll be like, wow, how could I ever play without this at this point? So it was unreal going through there. I mean, all the cool amenities they have to help their athletes and their hockey players become the best players they can be just off the ice, which I think is a big part. Just your work off the ice and keeping your body healthy off the ice. They provide all that. And I think that's probably one of the coolest parts about North Dakota is all they have to offer at that cool rink.
Yeah. Do you stay in communication with a lot of those guys that are already playing there?
Yeah.
Those younger guys.
Yeah. That are at North Dakota.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Like me so I went to the combine this year and I got really close to EJ Emery and Sasha. I mean, those two are great dudes. We got really close. We were spending a lot of nights with each other in one of each other's hotel rooms, just sitting, hanging out, or going out to dinner in Buffalo. So I mean, I still talk to them regularly, and they're great dudes and even better hockey players. So it's cool watching them succeed their freshman year. It's not easy being a true freshman in the NCHC. So seeing them succeed is one of the coolest things, I think.
Any advice that they give you? Obviously, as you're about to go. Oh, you got a little bit of time, but have they offered you any advice about what to expect, for your freshman season?
Not really. They haven't offered me too much, but I think that it'll start coming in when we go to summer school a little bit. So I'm for sure I'll be hanging around them a lot. And of course, I'll be trying to pick their brains from what do I do here? What have you noticed when you first got here? What you struggled with at the start? So, and those two are great dudes, and they'll for sure be happy enough to let me know what they went through that was hard, so I don't have to go through it.
Yeah, and then obviously as you transition from the USHL over to the college game, are there specific areas of your game that you're kind of determined to improve upon this offseason as you enter your freshman season?
Yeah, of course I want to get bigger. I mean, the more you move up in levels, the heavier the guys are, the stronger they are. So I want to spend a lot more time in the weight room this year. Last summer wasn't really able to do any time in the weight room or even on the ice with my shoulder injury. So just want to get bigger, stronger, and faster off the ice so I can, stay up to pace and kind of keep my weight up with those guys. And then on the ice, I want to work on my defensive game a little more. I think I've been a lot more offensive driven this year. And then next year, I just want to be better on the defensive zone, more trusted. If I'm trusting the D zone more, I could get more playing time. And who doesn't want to be on the ice a little more? So that's just what I've been trying to work on.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. And, we'll kind of get into this a little bit. It's been a little over a week since the trade deadline. You were involved with a pretty big trade. Boston Bruins traded for yourself, fellow Minnesota guy, Casey Middlestat, in a second rounder. Man, what was going through your head? Like, where were you when you found out the news? How did you find out? Like, was it a complete shock to you? How did you find out that day that this was going down?
So me and Aiden were upstairs in our room. We were getting ready for a game, kind of just doing our pregame routine. And that day we usually we'll watch some hockey or either watch like a TV show for an hour before we take our naps. And we were watching the Minnesota State High School hockey tournament that day. We were watching the Class A championship game, I think it was, or it was a semifinal game that we were watching. And my agent happened to call me and he's like, "You're getting traded." He's like, "You might be getting traded." I'm like, "What?" Like, well, no, I didn't want to get traded from Green Bay in the USHL. Like, coach said he wasn't making any trades, and he's like, "No, not in the USHL, in the NHL." I'm like, "Really?" He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "There's a deal going down with Boston." He's like, "It could happen, it could not. Just if it does, just don't want to blindside you. I'll keep you updated." And then like 10, 15 minutes pass, and then my buddy Gino Carcone calls me and goes, "You got traded to the Bruins." And I'm like, "What? Really?" He's like, "Yeah, it's all over Twitter right now." And then right after he called me, Colorado immediately called me. They're like, "Hey, we traded you. Like, it's just the business." I'm like, "No hard feelings." I mean, I will be forever grateful for Colorado for drafting me and believing in me as a player. So always will have thanks for them. But yeah, I kind of found out through my friend Gino, and then Sweeney called me right after, and it was pretty cool, pretty surreal.
Yeah. How did that conversation go? Like, were you kind of like, I mean, it sounds like you handled everything super professionally. It's, anytime a young kid gets traded, especially, from one pro team to another, like what was that conversation like talking to Don that day?
I mean, it was pretty good. Anytime he's like, "We really wanted you. We were really, really pumped to get you in that trade." And those words were a pretty good feeling. I know anytime you're wanted somewhere, I think that's one of the best feelings. Like they were willing to trade for me at such a young age. So we'll forever be grateful for that, and then believing in me as a player at this point in my career. So it was pretty surreal. I just thanked him for believing in me and trading for me. So, and he was also pretty adamant about getting us to Boston. He was pretty excited, which I'll pretty hyped to hear Don Sweeney excited to trade for you. So then end of the conversation, then one of their player development guys called me and kind of just spoke on the phone with them for a little bit. And then I got a couple more calls of people just introducing themselves, which was pretty cool.
Nice. Any like current players reach out to you and just kind of welcome you at all?
Not yet. No, I thought that might happen because in the draft, when Colorado picked me, Nathan McKinnon texted me. So that was pretty cool.
What the?
Yeah. So
how'd that feel?
It was pretty cool because he was a Shattuck guy too. So
yeah,
kind of text me. It's like always good to get another Shattuck guy, and pretty surreal. I mean, he's one of the best players in the world right now. Leads NHL in points. So it's always cool when you get a guy like that giving you some kudos for getting drafted.
Well, I can tell you this much, man. Like, as soon as the deal went down, Bruins Twitter was going absolutely bananas. I think we were kind of messaging back and forth, and there was nothing but good things to say. And people are super, super amped to have you here. Your game speaks for itself. I mentioned before, your highlights are all over Bruins Twitter. That goal we talked about, the chirp and whatnot. So obviously, Bruins fans were obsessed with that. Kind of speaking to like Bruins fans. What kind of guy, what kind of player, is the organization getting in a guy like Will Zellers? And then to kind of caveat off that question, are there any current NHLers that you kind of model your game after, or guys that you like to like really kind of hone in and study?
Yeah, so I think as a player, I think I'm a fast player. I'm offensively driven. I like to drive plays, kind of play against the D-men, make my plays, get a lot of shots. I think I'm a shot first guy. I like scoring goals. I think that's the second best part about hockey. Scoring goals first is winning games. So I'm a winner. I like to win a lot. And past couple of years of Shattuck, I've been lucky enough to do that. So I think that's the player they get. And then players I've watched growing up too. Of course, I was watching Zach Parise. He was a Shattuck guy, North Dakota guy too. And he was a little bit, I wouldn't say undersized, but there's a lot of big players in NHL. And he was about 5'11", 6 feet tall. So he wasn't the tallest guy out there, but he played like he was 6'2", 6'3" out there and didn't give a care in the world and made his mark on hockey in this generation. And also watched a lot of Jake Gensel. He grew up in Minnesota. I remember watching him at the tournament playing for Hill Murray, and then when he went to Omaha too. And I think this year he's been getting a lot of more of his kudos the past couple of years, but I think in his first part of career is really underrated player. I mean, he scored a lot of goals playing with Sidney Crosby and all these guys. So he's a player that I try to model my game after him and Parise. I feel like they're pretty kind of like the same player. They like scoring goals, like taking pucks in the net, and they also work pretty hard to get the puck in the net.
Yeah, I mean, dude, those are two phenomenal players. I mean, Zach Parise is obviously an absolute legend. And do you like obviously you found out the news you were getting traded to Boston? Like, first reaction, like, do you know anything about like? Have you ever been to Boston? Like, have you ever had the chance to visit or play here at all? Like, what was kind of your reaction when you found out it was Boston?
I was pretty excited. I mean, I was committed to the Boston University
Yep.
for my first college commitment, so I was committed there for a while. And one of the main reasons I committed there was for the city. I mean, the city of Boston is so beautiful. I love the city, and it's a great fan base. I mean, even in college hockey and pro hockey, like that's a hockey town for sure. Is Boston? It's some of the craziest fans, and I think that's a really cool part about hockey is the fans. So, I mean, I was pretty excited. I mean, Boston's a pretty cool city, and great prospects, and they've shown a lot of success in developing players kind of my size and my route, like Poitras and Marchand. They've developed players like that a lot, so it was always good getting picked up by a team that knows how to develop a player like me.
Yeah, man. Listen, I can tell you this much. I've kind of hit honed on it a lot. Like the city of Boston is excited to have you. You're a hell of a player. You've absolutely ripped it up this year. Everyone is, super happy to have you here. And again, I cannot thank you enough for doing this here for us today. And I wish you the best of luck the rest of the season. And then obviously as you kind of transition over to, North Dakota.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure being on. I can't wait to come out to Boston this summer for development camp.
Absolutely, man. We can't wait to see you here. And again, best of luck the rest of the way. Take care.
Thank you so much.